Welcome back, DIVEBOMB IndyCar Podcast, and another guest on this week, current IMSA driver and 2024 IndyCar driver for Marshank Racing, Tom Blomqvist. Tom, pleasure to have you on. How are you doing?
It's a pleasure to be here, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, good. I mean, the season's, the race season's obviously slowly winding down. I've been home for a week now, which has been nice because feels like it's been a real busy period. But yeah, I mean, I fly off again on Sunday to the States. Got my first experience around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on Wednesday next week, so I'm super excited for that. And then obviously that rolls straight into fly straight to Atlanta for my final IMSA race of the year. So hopefully, gonna have some cool stuff to talk about. I mean, obviously the goal is to, where we've got an outside chance on the championship there. Realistically, it's going to be really, really challenging, but obviously, we'd like to win the final race of the year and kind of cap off a, mixed season, let's say, for us. But it's been a privilege, and obviously it's kickstarted my my, let's say, learnings and everything, getting ready for next year, with the IndyCar season. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, so before we touch on kind of next year and what you've been doing this year, you've had a pretty crazy motorsport career. It seems like you've done a bit of anything and everything. So just, if you could just give the listeners a quick overview to what you have done. You've beat Max Verstappen. Not many people can say that. But yeah, you've done everything. So give people a quick overview, if you can, to your racing career.
Yeah, none of the F1 drivers can say they've bit him in a season. So no, I'm joking. Yeah, I mean, mate, I've done, feels like the last 10 years, 8 years or whatever, since I've turned professional, I feel like I've raced in almost every series you possibly can race in. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I started off in single-seaters, progressed up the ranks there. 2015, I kind of veered off, got my first sort of professional contract with BMW to race in the DTM. I had the opportunity to continue in my, in single-seaters, to maybe go into like World Series and potentially F2, GP2 at the time, but I had this great opportunity to join BMW, as a professional young driver, and I took that, I took that chance, and I did 3 years in the DTM with them. I dovetailed that with a little bit of a foray into GT racing, doing the big blue ribbon GT events, the 24 hours of Spa, 24 hours of Nürburgring. And then, 2018, I think it was, I did Formula E. I did some Formula E racing. I did the WEC in the GT sports car team for BMW. 2019, I actually raced in IMSA in the GTLM class with BMW. And then, 2020, parted ways with, at the end of 2019, parted ways with BMW. 2020 was a bit of a messy year, really, with COVID and everything hitting. So I didn't actually get much racing done, and then 21 back to Formula E with Neo team and did that as well as LMP2, and then the LMP2 stuff kind of led to the chance to test with MSR with Marshank the back end of 2021, and then ended up joining the team there, and had a great, absolutely fantastic year last year in sports cars, winning, Daytona, winning the championship. I mean, couldn't have done much more, really. So, I mean, I feel like I've done everything. I've won GT races, sports car races. Competed in Formula E, DTM. It's been pretty. Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate to race so many things in such a short period. I would say I'm quite good at, like, I can drive most things okay, but I've definitely found my feet back in these high downforce, more nimble race cars that I kind of grew up doing, right? Like Formula 3 and so on. So it's kind of feels like my career has really taken a good leap the last 12 months. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for what lays ahead, really.
Very nice. So how do you reflect on the couple of years in IMSA with MSR, and how much does that relationship with the team really help to build the foundation for what's to come in IndyCar?
Oh, it's been absolutely fantastic. I mean, I feel, this team is so unique. There's such a shared passion from the ownership all the way through, down through the mechanics, to the drivers. And what Mike, his wife, Mary Beth, and Jim Meyer, bring to this team is such they make their drivers, feel like they're a part of the team, like they're part of the family. It's an open book. I think what I love most about that is, Mike, the team, Jim, everyone there has obviously seen what I did, and they truly believe that I played a huge part in the sports car success we had last year. And they almost feel like they should reward me, and I think a little bit of this IndyCar drive is their faith and belief in me, and also kind of rewarding me in a way for what I've done with them, together with them, what we've achieved together, and see, hey, let's see if we can take this kid, to IndyCar, make, even though I'm not a kid anymore, man, I'm nearly 30, and it's kind of depressing, but yeah, I mean, I love the guys, and I really feel at home there. But at the end of the day, we're obviously, both of us want to have a successful campaign. They put a lot of faith in me, a lot of trust in me. They believe that I can deliver them results also in IndyCar, and I'm motivated to to kind of prove them right. That they did make a good decision taking a punt on me, because they could have easily tried to hire another driver, or stuck with the same guys they had, or take a proven sort of IndyCar driver. But they were willing to take a risk on me, and that's kind of testament to their approach and their mentality and how they are as people. Giving me that chance to prove to them, or prove to everyone, and also it's a step up in my career, right? It's a chance to better my life, and then so we're all really excited about it, but there's a lot of hard work ahead of us, especially me, trying to put myself in a position where I want to be, right? Like I've kind of got relatively used to being at the front of the field, and most of my career kind of been fighting at the front. That's kind of what I expect, and I'm going to come into one of the most competitive, if not maybe arguably the most competitive series currently in the world. And so man, it's going to be a challenge, and there's going to be bad days. It's been a humbling experience so far, for sure, but one that I'm so motivated to kind of make work.
Yeah, we're looking forward to watching your journey as you progress next year.
Yeah, me too.
So sort of on the topic of IndyCar, you obviously got 3 trial runs. So you started off with, let's say, baptism of fire in Toronto. You kind of had it all, and then a bit of quieter one in Portland, and then you had another absolute throw into the dark at Laguna Seca. How would you kind of reflect on those first 3 experiences, and sort of how does that bode you into next year?
It was definitely an eye-opener, and if I'm totally honest, it was a bigger challenge than I expected. Having jumping in like that, the first one in Toronto was it was a nightmare. I mean, having not driven the car, only having one shot on the car this time last year. Jumping in straight in the weekend when everyone else has been driving all year long at a track I had no idea about. I wasn't, didn't really know the car that well. That was wild. I mean, I was making small baby steps, and it was I was so gutted that I didn't get a chance to get those race laps under my belt. And then, Portland as well. It still wasn't really clicking a bit, but, having done that Portland race, Portland for me, I just wanted to get through it, do the distance in the race, which I did, which was super useful. And then, coming to Laguna, I felt a lot more relaxed and a lot more calm, and just a lot more ease with the car and everything. And I think, my performance there was definitely a lot stronger. The race was, actually going all right up until the point where I ended up in one of those ridiculous restart pile-ups, which I was obviously disappointed about, because I think we had the chance to get a decent result that day with all the chaos going on. We were on a relatively, say we were on one of the better strategies. But I mean, it just was kind of a big eye-opener. But at the same time, it was so useful for me to get those miles under my belt. I mean, I'm so much more comfortable. Or let's say in the back of your mind, what to expect. All these little things that a racing driver goes through in terms of the race. The preparation, the warm-up lap, the restarts, all the little small things that the viewers or the people, the fans watching don't really understand, or not that they don't understand. They don't realize that all these small little things that you become accustomed to. There's less thought process that's going on when you're behind the car, because it's not all new. You know what's about to happen. You know how to handle these situations. You know how some of the guys race. Do you know what I mean? Like all those little things, I've already got I've got a bit of a brief understanding of that now. So that helps tremendously. I know a bit about the car. I've done a race distance. I know the practice sequences, the run plans through the practice, how quick it comes, the qualifying format, blah, blah, blah. So all those small things, they help a lot. It's all well and good going and doing testing, but getting these full race weekends under my belt definitely helps a lot. So, I'm a lot more relaxed about a general race weekend in IndyCar, so the first one coming up in March it's going to be a bit easier, having done some now, than it would have been if I was going in completely fresh. But I still need to get those miles up in the car, get familiar with the car, get comfortable in the car. I'm still not where I want to be in terms of, my feeling with a sports car. I feel like I can jump in that thing. I'm on it straight away. I get in the IndyCar, I have to think a little bit more. It's not completely natural just yet, and that's going to take the time. So I need to, work with everyone on my team to get the most out of myself and make that progress. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, so you've had a bit of like a preview kind of at this season, but what do you think is going to be the most challenging part, like stepping up into IndyCar for the season coming up?
I mean, you guys know how competitive the series is, and I can say firsthand, it's incredibly tough. The cars, the teams, the drivers, it's so close. It's at such a high level. All elements of racing, from the strategic element to the racecraft, to everything. It's the races are they're intense, and I think for me, I've got so much to learn. There's a few tracks I need to learn. The main thing is just me getting to grips with the race car, understanding how to maximize performance of my package, and then drive, work with my engineers to get that thing working for me in the way I want it to. All these things you kind of develop over years of racing. You need the miles in the tank. You need to feel that car. You need to be comfortable with it. And I want to get myself to that position, which hopefully should come pretty quick. And then it's all the small things, the racecraft, the different style of racing, and obviously next year, for the first time in my career, I have to deal with racing on ovals. So that's going to be the biggest unknown, right? Not the unknown, but that's going to be the thing that I've basically have zero experience with. But one I'm super pumped and excited for, because I love a new challenge, and that's exactly what it's going to be. So yeah, hopefully I have the time of my life, and it kind of works for me, right? Like I'm next week I get my first laps at Indy, and
that's cool. That's cool.
It's going to be pretty wild.
Yeah, so something we are wanting to do with our driver guests is hopefully we get a few more on is less, some questions that aren't necessarily racing related, but we know you're quite short on time. But the one question we would like to ask is, what 2 songs would you like to add to our IndyCar driver playlist?
Not to put you on the
spot. I've got the Smile one, like Smile, like pump up song, like if you're boxy, you're walking out. Fort Minor, remember this name. You know that one?
No.
Can't say I did.
Listen to it.
That's going to be on the playlist, so all the viewers can listen to it.
Yep.
Get it on, mate. Get it on. Another one. What are we going to do? Fleetwood Mac, Everywhere. Man, that thing's good.
Cool.
Cool choices.
get
They'll
them
be added to the list. They'll be added to the list. Hopefully a growing list full of different drivers. We have a game next year where all the drivers will be guessing who put what on the playlist. It'll be a paddock challenge.
Awesome.
Anyway, Tom, thank you for your time. Really, really appreciated. You're obviously welcome back anytime you want. Best of luck at Indy next week. Hopefully you're familiar with it. Hopefully you're on for a great 500 next year as well as a brilliant season ahead.
Cheers, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So obviously Tom's kind of got throwing in the dark, you know, there's a big changes coming into next year. He's never done an oval. He's got a difficult rookie class, probably the pick of them being Linus Lundqvist. And can't be easy, you know. He hasn't driven Formula E a couple of years ago, but he's not driven anything like an IndyCar in like a long season-long campaign. So it's going to have a difficult season. But I think at Toronto, he highlighted how difficult it was. But I think we even noted then how he came into qualifying in a very difficult circumstance, and he still performed absolutely mightily. So he's definitely shown signs of potential. It's just about what he could do next year.
Yeah, I think it will stand him in good stead, having had those few races. I mean, yeah, it was a bit messy at times. You had Toronto, it wasn't his fault. You know, he didn't get, that's basically one race less of experience. Yeah. Portland, physical, tough track. You know, that was always going to be difficult. It was first ever real race. Then Laguna was kind of not particularly representative just because it was so chaotic. But yeah, I think personally, he's, as he said, he's had the team put faith in him, and there's clear belief there. He had a very good single-seater career before, Formula E was a bit disappointing, but he wasn't with the sort of most standout of teams, let's say. And obviously the last couple of years have been pretty stellar in IMSA. And yeah, while it'll be different, it'll be more physical, he's going to have to put in the work in the off season. He's clearly a supremely talented driver, and I'm really looking forward to see what he can do alongside Felix Rosenqvist, who is fast. He's got that experience, and yeah, Meyershank Racing are requiring a bit of an upturn. It's not been, a great couple of years for them, particularly. Maybe not what they would have wanted, especially this year with the whole Pagenaud issue and Castro Neves looking maybe slightly past it. But yeah, fresh pair at Meyershank, and I'm really excited to see what Tom can do. Yeah,
I mean, the fact is, he's, as we kind of said, he's done literally anything and everything. Formula E, GTs, single-seaters, as was racing Verstappen years ago. He's done loads of endurance racing, obviously been very successful there. And there's no way you do all this stuff out being a supremely talented driver. And as we said, the potential is definitely there. And yes, there's a lot to learn, but that's the case for every rookie. Not every rookie gets straight off the bat. He's obviously going to struggle with ovals because that's one thing he hasn't done in his career. And obviously he's going to have plenty of testing at Indy, and maybe the fact that sort of the short ovals are maybe slightly easier to adapt to, it could be argued, but he's going to have 5 of them next year to do, so he's got plenty of time doing that. So I think the potential is definitely there. The first year you can never have expectations sky high, but the general standpoint that it's from is pretty encouraging.
I think as well, just because he kind of had that like the couple of races, I think he can just use that as well. For some of them weren't the best, but he can use that kind of knowledge that he got and just hopefully adapt to the car even quicker and kind of not have as much of, obviously he's going to be a rookie, he's going to have the mistakes, but hopefully have a little less in like the first couple of races, because then he could have hopefully learned about that in the races that he had this season.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day as well, he is an experienced driver. He won't go and do stuff like, maybe a more inexperienced younger rookie and just throw the car in the wall unnecessarily. I think Tom will sort of build his way into it and draw on all of the experience he's got from so many different categories of racing.
Absolutely. So as we always do, is just a bit of news this week that we've got to touch on. So there's 2 major ones. I think the big one, well, both of them fairly big. Let's go to the news that McLaren and Juncos have what they're calling a strategic alliance going to 2024. So as we know previously, Andretti and Meyershank, obviously Tom's team, are have got a technical alliance or technical partnership, same as Foyt and Penske do. But McLaren and Juncos have formed a strategic alliance. It was kind of rumoured for a while. I don't think it was rumoured to this extent as such, but from what has been kind of gathered, it's a pretty major partnership. We're going to see dual test days. We're going to see a bit more sharing of data, and I think it's a beneficial move to both teams. I think it also shows the intent of Callum Ilott moving over to McLaren for 2025. Sorry, how we'll be looking then. But yeah, I think it's an interesting move for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've not got masses more to add on it really, but I think more than anything, it will be sort of just adding that pathway for a driver like Ilott. Juncos could be the home, maybe after Ilott, to a driver who McLaren see fit as, you know, in 2 or 3 years, say, after coming into the series, they see could be someone who, you know, will step up and join their lineup. So, yeah, I mean, again, it seems to be something that's becoming more of a feature, teams forming these relationships through the grid. And yeah, I mean, it's probably only going to benefit both parties, especially Juncos, who, you know, still in their early days in IndyCar. Last season was their first with 2 cars, season before was their first full time in the series. So yeah, it makes sense, really.
Yeah, and obviously they're going to get the funding from McLaren now, which is going to be really important to them. We've known sort of the issues of trying to get Canapino a second car. Obviously, there still isn't confirmed, but I think getting McLaren in will almost certainly lock Canapino in for another year. So it's encouraging move for Juncos, and I think that's going to help them massively. And it's just going to further sort of solidify the midfield more. What we were sort of noticing towards the mid-season is that you had McLaren, Penske and Ganassi miles in front of a given day, whilst the midfield pack was further away, but the midfield pack was very condensed, and that will obviously move slightly over, hopefully towards the big boys, and it's going to really help Juncos.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add other than what you two have said.
The other one bit of news was a bit more interesting. So the official wording is complicated, but basically Grosjean's taking legal action against Andretti. It's all to do with 2024 contract. The rumours flying about were Andretti offered Grosjean a contract. They didn't countersign it after his form kind of took a dip, and Grosjean's obviously taking legal action against them. I don't think he's taking them to court, but there's some sort of legal action going on there. It was kind of a real surprise one, really. I think it ended on pretty bad terms, but we didn't really see this coming, and it's another messy contractual situation all over the IndyCar news. Yeah,
I mean, maybe we didn't see it coming, but I can definitely understand it. I think it was Marshall Pruitt who first sort of told the story of Andretti supposedly having offered this contract. It seemed like everything was agreed, maybe verbally, but then simply didn't countersign it after Grosjean was under the illusion and essentially under a false promise that he could drive for the team again. And now that's kind of left his future into, you know, quite a whole heap of uncertainty. So you can understand why Grosjean is, you know, keen to take action, because at the end of the day, you know, they've kind of messed about with his career a little bit by kind of promising, maybe just going a bit prematurely with the contract offer and thinking, right, he started the season well, you know, there we go, he can continue with us. But, you know, maybe knowing that he has this knack to be quite inconsistent, then possibly they shouldn't have, you know, bitten the bullet, jumped the gun and offered it so early. So, yeah, I mean, I can understand it, but it's just a bit messy, really. It's another situation like this. I don't know really how it reflects on the series, but yeah, hopefully all is resolved amicably, because I don't think it did end on great terms. Looking at, obviously, we had the outburst at Portland after qualifying and some moments like that where Grosjean clearly wasn't happy with the team. So yeah, you can kind of understand why he's taking this action, I guess. But it's just not an ideal situation, really.
I think as well, from just like watching it, you kind of maybe expected that he wasn't going to get a contract or kind of maybe not sign on, but obviously he was expecting it, and he went onto his Instagram and just in his like statement, he was just like, he had expected to like race with them, but obviously that didn't happen. And I think when it's like stuff like that, when you think that you've been offered a contract as well, even if you are doing bad, you don't kind of assume that you're gonna if you've been offered it, and even your performance, it shouldn't kind of matter if whatever. So I think it kind of, I don't know, I think he like knew that it would have happened, but then obviously if they've said it, then it could have come with like a massive shock to him.
Yeah, it ended badly enough, and you kind of say, oh, it just gets worse. And I almost think leaving Andretti is still best for Grosjean's career. I mean, if you're going to be having these arguments with the mechanics every other weekend, your team owner publicly says that you're not good enough for the team, I don't think there's any more of a red flag that you shouldn't be at that team anymore. And where his future lies, is it an IndyCar? We don't know yet. But I see why Grosjean's annoyed, but I still think at the same time it is best for him to bow out at Andretti. I think there was a lot of promise, there was a lot of potential, and for a multitude of reasons it didn't happen, which is of course disappointing for him. But I don't think anyone wants to see another messy court battle in IndyCar, especially after what's happened with Pelé.
Yeah, I think in this situation, really, I do feel for Grosjean. He's not in the wrong here. He was offered a contract, and at the end of the day, it's Andretti who will probably come out of this situation as the losers, really, because if you can't offer a contract and then withdraw it, it's not exactly good etiquette, or however you put it, really. So, yeah, I do feel for Grosjean, but maybe it will be a blessing in disguise, because it has been shown that some of his best performances come when he isn't under the spotlight and the pressure of driving for a big team with the real expectation to perform.
So there we are, all the news updates you need to know from Juncos to Grosjean, and obviously look preview towards Tom's season. So thanks for Tom for joining us, and thanks for Marshank for organising it, and hopefully you enjoyed the chat with Tom, and hopefully we'll see him more in the future. Looking forward to next week. We are going to finally have episode 2 of the driver review. It's taking a bit longer than we wished it to, but it will be out next week, which is good news. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening to those of you on Spotify, and we'll see you next week.